A very good afternoon, everyone. Let's start on time. We are Swiss. On behalf of the whole team, I would like to welcome you to this Quantum Safe workshop hosted this afternoon. Maybe as a quick introduction, let's consider what's happening these days. The coronavirus has obviously affected our lives, both at a personal and professional level, and new remote tools have shown to be successful for many organizations, and we are currently assessing the productivity of working remotely, typically like today during this workshop. At the same time, working this way also increases the need to raise security, both on the core networks and to the edge. Making data secure is therefore paramount and even more urgent than ever. IT security teams have then a tremendous responsibility to safeguard data and our intellectual property. And we rely essentially on cryptography to uphold that responsibility. So this is why it is absolutely necessary to look at security with a broader perspective and take that opportunity to act now to better protect data and communications. And this is, in a sense, what reflects our today's agenda. So briefly, we will start with a presentation from Axel from EVP Quantique, presenting this quantum proofing, your organization pitch. Then we will move to Dacoso with Thomas, presenting a commercial implementation of quantum safe solution. Then we will have a break for 30 minutes. And then we will move to the next speaker from Montpellier, Sébastien, presenting a use case, very interesting use case around blockchain and QIDiS. And we will end with another person from EVP Quantique, Jean-Sébastien. We will present you also a use case around data center interconnect and how QIDiS can be implemented in that case. Maybe just a few words before we start about how we will handle questions this afternoon. You can ask your questions at any time through the Q&A tab inside the tool, and they will be answered at the end of each of the sessions. So please don't hesitate to ask your question online, and we will answer them later on. Okay, so let's start. Let me now introduce you our first speaker, Axel Foery from EVP Quantique. He is the EVP of the Quantum Safe Business Unit. So Axel's motivation is to drive innovation, which he has done his whole life, where he helped to build large-scale SDH networks across Europe, as well as local area networks with major brands around the globe, notably with Nokia and Philips. Later, Axel was honored to build the internet with all things we use every day with Cisco. And he is today with us in EVP Quantique and on this event because there was always one major thing missing. Oh, secret. So please listen carefully, and up to you, Axel.
Thank you, Jill. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the session. First, as we have seen in the introduction, that we are already advanced in technology because we are able to beam Jill from the screen. But that's another story we will maybe show in 1 year from now. So let me start this one major thing which Jill mentioned. As I had the honor to support and to help to build the internet, there was always one topic which was not finally solved and we are facing today, obviously. And it was a topic about security in a broader sense. And as we rely on this internet and the protocols based, we have to find a way to overcome this soon because it starts to get crucial, not only by the threat of the quantum computing, but also by the other threats which are evolving every day. So first I want to show you the motivation why to prove your organization for the quantum decade. And for sure, also, I will try to give you a first, let's say, cookbook, what you can do in your organization to act along the line. So that's the reason why we are entering the quantum decade. And therefore, I want to start with an example which was launched a couple of months ago, and one was launched recently, which is a mobile phone which uses quantum technology. So it's a mass market product, obviously, and it uses our chip, our QRNG chip, to produce randomness. So everybody will ask, okay, what does it mean? It means a lot, because mobile phone is the major market in terms of products, electronic products. We all use them every day, and they are more or less close to our heart in everything what we are doing. And it means security in this area is absolutely mandatory. And to provide the security to the level we need, randomness makes a major differentiation, and quantum randomness, which is the ultimate randomness quality for sure, is the right thing to go for. So we see here 2 phones. I know in 1 year from now, there will be many more phones. I expect that will be more or less the standard going forward in the mobile phone area, or the mobile phone market, but not only the mobile phone market, and I will come to this later. I refer to the internet, and maybe one number which you can see on the screen is the number of hosts and the development of the hosts, which shows to some extent the growth of the internet much better than the volume, right? Because volume depends on application, and the host relies on the infrastructure much more. And I put the arrow on the slide, and with this arrow, that's more or less the area where we are right now with QKD. So QKD is, from an installation point of view, the number of installations in this size in the moment globally. And what you see, and as everything goes faster, this will go much faster than with the internet hosts, this number will grow dramatically in the next couple of years. So it's a non-linear growth in front of us. And that's what we all will face. And you have listened to the session in the morning. You see the progress on the qubit side announced by IBM, which for sure is a clear indication that quantum computing gets in a serious stage. And with this level they had announced, with more than 1,200 qubits, they are coming in the range to be a serious problem for security, which I will explain in a second. Another good indicator is where's the money flow. So follow the money, and you always see where the development goes. And you see there's a lot of money going into investments according to quantum technology, and this across the globe. And most of the numbers are visible, but maybe also some numbers which are not visible. So you see already a substantial size of money flowing in this area. And you see this also in terms of deals and investments, right? You have seen the investments in the moment from the morning from European Union about the Open QKD. And that's all things which we have to respect, right? This money will have an impact in one or other direction. And if you listen to technology, it's very difficult to project, but if you listen to money, you see the volume and the growth we can expect going forward, not only in quantum computing, also in the encryption space, which has to act much faster than quantum computing, because we have to be ready when they are ready to run, right? A little bit on the company, IDQ, most of you know them quite well. I think we started 2001 by a strong focus on photon measurement, photon sensing. And you have heard from Mike this morning what we are doing in all this space. But we have grown, right? We are now a global company. We have more than 100 employees. And in the meantime, we are clearly the leader in quantum randomness by volume, by far. So we are now shooting in direction of the millions within this year to reach. And also on quantum encryption systems, clearly we are world leading, I would say, at least outside China, because that's something which is not that visible to us so far, how much is installed there, because they have a strong focus as well, which I will cover as well in a second. So a little bit wrap up from the morning. I think we all know the great things we can do with quantum technology. And for sure, there's one topic which drives us around. And it's the topic why we are in this session right now, that quantum computing has a good ingredients for a lot of things, but also a risk for the keys. So, and encryption is about keys. And as soon you can recalculate keys, and quantum computing is able to do this quite fast, coming to a certain size of qubits, then we have a serious issue, because then the classical security we use in, let's say, 99% maybe of all encrypted transactions and communications will be broken or easy to be broken. So how does this affect us, right? And QIDiS is a unique technology which provides an answer no technology has provided so far. And that's only a symbolic graph, what you see in front. You see the timeline, obviously, and then you see the starting point where you insert a new algorithm, a new technology to secure and encrypt. And typically all of what we have introduced the last couple of years, and that comes back to my first statement, aged out to a certain point of time because software developed further, processing power developed further, and also the smartness of people to let's say, crack the code is growing tremendously. With QKD, we have the first time the chance in life that this rule is not valid anymore, because as it is based on a physical effect, in the moment there is no mathematical and processing power able to have the similar effect on this technology, so that we have to replace this after 2, 3, 4, 5 years because it's not secure anymore. And that's a unique point of time which everybody should consider. So normally your investment is calculated on a 3, 4, 5, 6 years depreciation period. For this, it will be much longer. And in the moment, we don't see an end. Maybe there will be one, but in the moment, it's absolutely not visible. And we come to this also with the post quantum algorithm. What can we expect there? So first time in life that it looks like we have a technology which sustains and does not follow this rule. In terms of the Mosca theorem, it was already mentioned this morning and from Hannes' presentation, but it's also well known. What does it mean for everybody, for every leader and organization who is responsible? He has to think about what's the impact of the technology, quantum computing, and where he has action to take, right? And when is the right time to take the action? It's quite difficult to say because we don't know when the technology will be finally there. There are probabilities, but nobody knows the exact time. And there's clearly a time to worry, because if your data needs to stay secure for a long time, let's say 5, 10 years, then most likely you have to act fast, or maybe you have already passed the point that some of the data will be hacked afterwards because it's stored somewhere else in the meantime, which is easy to do, at least to some extent. And based on this stored data with quantum computing then in position, they can rebuild and can read it as it was transported. And that's quite dangerous. You can imagine for governments, you can imagine for companies who have a lot of intellectual property on different areas which last long. And that's the reason why we are here, to explain what needs to be done. So that's the way we want to propose. So at first, you need to know how long does your data stay secure? That's not a classical question. Normally you say, okay, it has to be secure, maybe with different grades or levels, but you have never thought that much about how long it needs to stay secure. And that's the first question you should ask yourself. So what is the timestamp for this data or for this communication? And if as soon as you start in this discussion and make then the calculation from the last slide, then you see what's the timing for your organization. And there's for sure a timing for your organization. So what can be done already? And the best example was this mobile phone. We started to insert much better randomness into the mobile phone. And that's already a huge step forward, because the actual randomness has by far not the same quality and can be rebuilt, recalculated, analyzed, and in the end then is not a real randomness anymore. Then start to say, okay, what are the things you can do in your actual architecture, your IT architecture? What needs to be changed to be prepared to come to the next level? And then for sure, as soon as you are ready for this, start to find the barriers you need to inject this new technology, QIDiS, which is, to be honest, quite simple, because everything stays like this. You enter secure keys or very secure key, ultra high secure keys. That's the only difference in the end. What you will see, what happens, all the rest can stay. That's quite smart on this technology. Going back a little bit on the randomness, why is randomness so important? So if you don't have true randomness, everything can be recalculated over time if the processing power and software is going in the direction. And we have already reached this point that a lot of randomness is not secure anymore, or has not a quality to provide the security of the products they are used. And that's the reason why they insert new types of randomness, QRNG, quantum-based randomness, based on a chip level, easy to get, easy to install. And these keys you also will need going forward in this quantum decade, because even in 2023, we will see the first algorithm-based solution which are proven. In the moment, we have already a couple of algorithms, let's say, in the race, but most of them maybe will not go finally through. There will be some left, and they will also need this randomness. With a poor randomness, this algorithm for sure will be not provide the level we need to be quantum safe, right? But as I mentioned, this will be maybe in 2023, some in this phase, so that's at least the actual time horizon. And that's the reason why we expect, if you are already challenged by time, you should act now, and then the only option is QIDiS. It's a hardware solution which works and is proven and is easy to install. Industries which will be impacted by this first, most likely, and that's what we see, and it's quite interesting to see, is in the governmental space. It's so this type of security has a strategic importance. It's not a classical importance, it's a strategic importance, because the world has changed. We have different regions, and these regions maybe follow different interests, and to get on informations and manipulate informations or manipulate, let's say, transactions is clearly a weapon. So if you are ready to defend with a secure system, I think you are prepared. If you are not ready to defend, you are obviously in a challenging situation. And especially as a country like China has invested already in massive rollout of QIDiS, it's time to act, right? Because there are not that many Western European regions or also the US who have already started to implement large-scale installations. And they should ask themselves, why is China so advanced, and what's the impact of this in terms of strategic, let's say, reaction? The next one is clearly financial services, especially central banks. I think if you manipulate transactions, that's a huge problem, as we all know. We also see mission critical infrastructure, manipulate energy networks, stuff like this is for sure a huge problem for all of us. And then healthcare obviously is, especially as they have long lasting data, as long as we are alive, the data needs to stay confidential. And we hope we have all a long life, means they have to act as well. And for sure, data center, which provides services for this, are impacted, and telcos right now also start to go in there. And I will show some examples. 5G networks are the newest networks we see on the planet. They have there's a huge, let's say, expectation what 5G networks will deliver. And on security side, there's a much higher expectation. That's the reason why we implemented QIDiS network in the core of the SK Telecom 5G network. And it's only one example on the infrastructure side. In the morning, there was a question, is this only about infrastructure? No, it's not only about infrastructure, but for sure, infrastructure is also a key part. So that's quite interesting. And that's the roll-up of the network. By the way, we also use QRNG. So all the new subscribers get quantum-based randomness to get access to the network. And that's quite important, because if you fake new subscribers, you can also have a huge damage for operator, obviously. And here you see clearly the rollout of the network so far. This gets expanded. And South Korea is pretty advanced, and SKT is pushing a lot and has also invested in us because they want to use this technology, want to make sure that we have the right capabilities to do so. And that's the reason why we have to have a close look what's going on in South Korea. And there was this week the next announcement that they now start to roll out in all sectors QIDiS networks. So imagine this would happen in Europe or US, and that's exactly what will happen, obviously, right? Because they are advanced, maybe a couple of quarters, maybe even a couple of years, but all industries and all networks in Europe which have this criteria I have mentioned will go to QIDiS. And that's the reason why this curve I have shown on the internet hosts will look on the QIDiS side pretty similar, but in a much more condensed way. So because the speed of innovation is much higher than, let's say, in the 80s, 90s. So how to implement this? I think as we provide keys, for us it's important to partner and to partner with the key players in this market, because you don't need to touch your infrastructure. You add something beside, which is called QIDiS. And therefore, we have partnered, or have developed jointly with a couple of players for different markets, but also for different layers of the network solutions, which are already proven and you can install immediately, right? So it's a very low hurdle for somebody to decide for QIDiS. For sure, there is investment, but in the end, it's a low hurdle because they can use the existing architecture to go forward. So key takeaways: at first, be aware, do not delay, start. So winter's coming, obviously, that's also correct. Start now, at least to investigate. Try to understand your data and understand for how long they need to stay secure. Very important, very important. Or how important is that the transaction is 100% accurate, especially in the utility space. You can start immediately by inserting quantum-based keys, so a higher level of randomness that you can do with local servers, with the chip. We work with a lot of hardware players to get this implemented, not only in the mobile phone space, also in other areas, IoT and so on. And prepare your system to be agile, that you can inject this new technology easily. But also very important is define your position. So where you want to be. And especially on the C-level, ask yourself, will you get the questions in 2 years from now why you not have act now? Because it will be a compliance topic if data gets unsecure. And the other side, there's a huge upside with this technology because you have innovation, you have new business opportunities, obviously. And finally, there's always a question, new technology is also a chance for new players. And who will be the Amazon of the quantum decade? Ask yourself, is your company potentially a potential player, or have you seen somebody go in this direction? It's a unique moment of time. And now I close with a quick Q&A, and Jill, I can hand it back to you, I would say.
Thank you, Axel. Right on time. I'm impressed. Okay, so guys, it seems we have quite a lot of questions actually posted. So just a reminder, if you want to post a question, just do it anytime through the Q&A tool. And if by lack of time, because we have only 5 minutes to answer this question. So if by lack of time, we cannot answer your question in particular, I invite you to send a mail at info@idquantique.com and with your question, and we will answer them as soon as we can. It might be the case we cannot cover all the questions, depending how long it takes to answer them, actually, Axel. So let me go through. And so the first question is, in what time frame do you see QIDiS becoming mainstream? Interesting.
Depends on the country and on the segment. What we see right now in Korea, it's clearly already mainstream, right? We see also in Europe massive movements as shown this morning, and mainly in the governmental space, but also in the finance, utility and healthcare area. In the end, I think we are already there to see in some countries to become mainstream, and it will be for all countries who decide to go for this direction. It will be mainstream in the next 3 to 5 years, latest. I guess more 3 years than 5 years.
So maybe as an extension, because they were not a related question. So you mentioned Asia and Europe, where we see QKD starting to be deployed. So do you see that as a turning point for the technology?
Absolutely, yes. It's always a turning point for technology if you see volume increase and especially go into operational use, because this also develops the technology much faster. There's much more money coming in. So I think that's for sure a major step, right? So, and we have reached this already in Korea, and I hope we reach this also in Europe within the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Okay, maybe another one here about topology. Is it possible to start with one QKD link today and then extend to a more complex topology, at a later stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, it's easy to build aside existing architecture. And the key question on this is how to handle key management, and this relates to your initial analysis on the data. In general, yes, that's possible. And by the way, that's the way most of our customers, which we have already a number of customers in a lot of segments, I would say, are following, yes.
And maybe linked to that, how important do you see the repeaters? So I don't know if it's I guess it's a trusted node. So how important do you see them for making QKD mainstream? I mean, building the network, I guess this is the other.
So, you know, the repeater is an interesting topic, because the classical repeater we know will take still a while until it will be available. But I think with this trusted node, we are already in a good position, as we see it in Korea, to roll out major networks. So that's, I think this trusted node will be the bridge. There will be other technologies like satellite, which will bridge maybe even longer distances. So that's something which will come as well. So from my point of view, we have every ingredient to serve the customers in different needs. At least on the satellite side, it will take maybe a couple of quarters in addition, but anyhow, we are more or less ready to roll out. Yes.
Okay, maybe 2 more questions because the clock is ticking. So maybe a question about Switzerland here. When do smaller companies have to worry about QKD in Switzerland? 5, 10 years or later?
Depends on the company, maybe already now. It's not a question of size, as always. It's the question if you are IP rich,
right? Yeah.
If you want to protect all your knowledge, and you have high knowledge in Switzerland, we have a lot of high knowledge, then it's already time to start now, obviously.
Okay. And last question. Hey, I like this one for you, Axel. What are the difference between QKD protocols like COW and BB84, and which one is used by IDQ?
Okay, so that's a very good question for somebody who is an engineer by education. Okay, so quite quick question. So in the end, there are different protocols, and BB84 is more known. We have both protocols in our product portfolio. So that's number one answer to the question. So we have both. Number two is we see advantages for each protocol in different areas. That's the experience we have, because we have installations, and we have a lot of installations where we can get this information from. But we strongly support to go for standardization to give this better feeling to the customer. I cannot promise standardization will come to the point where we have reached for IP Ethernet switches, but at least to give a guidance for the customer that this is the right way to follow. And there will be for sure also evolution on protocols, maybe over time. But that's the reason why we say, okay, we want to have this based on the standard, and we are pushing a lot, and you can see this on our website that we have made some progress recently. So from my point of view, it's in the moment, we are ready to act. Maybe there will be migrations later on needed, but in the end, the protocols in both directions have advantages, and that's the reason we support both. Right.
Okay, so thank you very much, Axel. I think we have to stop here. I have to apologize because there are still many questions in the pipe. So again, since I'm not sure we can contact you personally after the session or after the workshop, please drop us a line, info@idquantique.com, put your question, and we will come back to you as soon as possible with an answer. So again, apologize we were not able to cover all questions, but we have this agenda to stick to. So thank you very much, Axel.
Thank you, Jill, and thanks everybody for listening.
Okay, right on time. So time for me to introduce the second speaker, Thomas Lebeth, who is heading the System Consultancy and Post Sales at Dacoso, a very important partner of IDQ. So Thomas is an expert in DWDM, transmission technology, and layer 1 encryption solutions. Working for more than 25 years in telecommunication business, he joined Dacoso in 2019. He's leading the technical sales for connectivity business and is focused on designing tailored quantum safe solutions for enterprise and carrier customers. So Thomas will show you the evolving need for quantum safe communication, outlining the key drivers leading to first commercial customer installation. And furthermore, he will also show working principle and real case application within one of his first customer. So welcome, Thomas, your stage.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I'm really happy to be invited here in the name of one of the biggest partners of EVP Quantique, Dacoso. And I'm happy to fill this session guiding you through the application space, through the first real case installations for quantum key distribution solutions. So the question is, why have we been invited for this session? Also, for a clear answer, Axel said, hey, come on, Thomas, let's go talk practical. Let's go reflect a little bit about what you experience within your customer talks during the daily business. And what Axel mentioned before was that we see some evolvement, some progression with customers here. And this is what I can really underpin at the moment. So since we've started positioning these, customer interest is, I think, doubling every quarter in the number of inquiries we do see. So starting into this session, first of all, let's take a look here after the drivers that move quantum cryptography forward. So why is it evolving faster and faster? Over the last few years, we have seen a fast development of quantum computers within the industry, and players like IBM, Google, Honeywell are improving their solutions, and some have already post-quantum computing capabilities in the cloud. These developments will, as we have seen, lead to a situation where current public crypto infrastructure is not safe anymore. Mathematical procedures, I think Shor's algorithm is mentioned here a lot of times, combined with quantum computing power, is really increasing the likelihood to threaten existing data transmission solutions. Therefore, the irreversible impact of quantum computing on current crypto is widely known and already understood. As sensitive data is becoming exposed, it is worthwhile to have a check on how to react and get proactive, putting a long-term security strategy in place. As Axel mentioned and has already displayed, various crypto algorithms will lose their strengths over time against the growing and impressive power of quantum computers. Taking this into account with Moscow's theorem, I think it was mentioned already today a lot of time, it is clear that the question, as pointed out here, is not if, but when data becomes compromised. Before we go further, next I'd like to introduce to you Dacoso Data Communication Solutions, being already a leader in layer 1 security and was achieving this leadership together with our customers for over more than 10 years. The foundation of the Dacoso data communication solutions took place back in 2004. Since the very beginning, we're working in a close and excellent partnership with Adva Optical Networking, who were the first focusing on DWDM solutions for storage area networking, connectivity, and data center interconnect. During these first years, together we have already experienced the move towards encrypting data transmission on layer 1. This has been driven for two major reasons. First, a wider awareness to protect data leaving safe premises. And secondly, the unrestricted data throughput of encrypted layer 1 transmission if compared against layer 2, layer 3 crypto algorithm solutions, which usually lose throughput performance with the growing distance between the sites. In 2009, Adva released the first DWDM encryption module with a line speed of 10G. And also already 2 years later, Dacoso had already implemented more than 500 encrypted links at enterprise customers within the financial sector, like banks and insurances. In 2012, a 100G encryption module has been released to complement and deal with the needs to encrypt higher line speeds from Adva side. In the year 2014, the magic number, as it is shown here, of more than 100 customers have been crossed utilizing Adva DWDM encryption solutions within the region of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And Dacoso has been expanding business segments towards above pure connectivity, towards cybersecurity and virtual networking between 2014 and now. Last year, we signed a contract for quantum cryptography solutions with ID Quantique. So why have we done that? We have identified our customers' needs and want to stay ahead of the curve, providing ultra-safe transmission solutions for our customers. Therefore, we're the first system integrator combining Adva DWDM encryption with ID Quantique's quantum key distribution for lead customers. As mentioned in the beginning, the basic question here is not the if, but when data becomes compromised. And this is leading us to the key drivers we have experienced over the last couple of years. So here is an insight from our experience with existing and also potential customers out of our conversations and out of our projects. And this is what I'd like to share with you. So what are basically the key drivers for the implementation of quantum cryptography to protect sensitive content? There are again two main parameters currently driving proactive measures. So first, it is the level of information secrecy required. This has already been pointed out by Axel. Secondly, the information lifetime expectations is driving first customers to react. This was also the second thing lined out, and I put this together in a particular chart where we see examples of different customers having different data content, both in terms of secrecy as well as information lifetime within this chart. And this chart reflects our experiences over the last 1.5 years talking with customers. So the data are ranging here from financial and insurance records up to governmental and state secrets. As shown within the green frame, the first customer deployments are currently happening within the area of very long information lifetime combined with highest level of secrecy. These customers are aware that today's public crypto infrastructure data flows may be attacked and recorded within, for example, man-in-the-middle attack. This recorded data may be decrypted with the support of a quantum computer in a couple of years, most likely happening within their information lifetime. The orange frame points to customers within the mid-range of both parameters who are currently active in our evaluating deployment of quantum safe solutions. Even yesterday, we had a first customer call from government who asked, hey, come on, I educated myself. Yeah, what is the current situation and what do I need to protect the data I'm communicating now, and I have the need for this communication because there is a threat, for example, that they may be decrypted, recorded, and decrypted in 5 years. So within the next slide, I'm going more technical here, depicting a more detailed view of combining DWDM transmission with quantum key distribution. The DWDM transmission modules called transponders are using a symmetrical algorithm to convert plain text into ciphertext on one end and vice versa on the other, where both are situated in safe locations. The algorithm that is used is AES 256, one of the most common and safe industry standards. For data encryption, the algorithm is utilizing a secure key that needs to be distributed to both ends in an absolutely safe way. This is based on Diffie-Hellman public crypto key exchange within the ADVA DWDM modules, being complemented by a safe distribution of quantum keys generated and brought in by the Quantique QIDiS platform. Both keys are eventually combined with the ADVA crypto transponders and thus assuring the maximum achievable safety. Any attempt to compromise the QIDiS link will lead to alarms and the user is made aware about an attack. This basic implementation scheme is not limited to point-to-point applications. And I think this was already a question before. So let me move to the next picture showing the supported network topologies. So QIDiS solutions are available to fit all kinds of network topologies, being capable to deal with point-to-point and linear airdrop topologies. For longer distances, currently beyond about 120 km per fiber hop, quantum key distribution would need relay sites, also called trusted nodes, as shown top right here. Even more complex topologies like hub and spoke, as well as ring or mesh network topologies are shown at the bottom of this slide, and these may be implemented with quantum key distribution. And what I will do next is to show you a combination of both on this customer deployment, where we do see a hubbed rings topology. So within this real customer deployment, it shows a more complex structure of 2 rings, one at the left and one at the right, where DWDM data transmission is utilizing the green fiber connections. All encrypted user data between the sites within this data center interconnect structure is traveling along these fiber pairs. So on the ADVA system, there may be utilized 10G, 100G line speed cards, transponders, muxponders to transport and encrypt client data exchange between this data center interconnect and transporting the secured data between these sites. The QIDiS system on top of it utilizes the red fibers for the secure quantum channel and also the service channel in a hub topology. There are different ways of implementing and optimizing the amount of fibers that is needed in the solution. In this real customer example, the customer and we have together decided that it is the best way to separate the data plane, which is the ADVA system and all the data transport, as I explained, and the encryption plane, where all the QIDiS systems are communicating. The IDQ Serverless 3 platform is now able to distribute keys from, for example, the central site towards site A and site B, where on both sides, secure keys are used as well to encrypt the data services, also traveling from site A to site B. What I would like to show you here is that even in a ring topology, it is not needed with the QIDiS system to have all 3 links connected also with a quantum channel, because at site A and site B, the keys may be used to encrypt the data flowing on the DWDM system between site A and B. So an additional QIDiS link therefore between A and B is not used. The central site hosts the DWDM management, the Advanced Ensemble Network Controller, as well as the ID Quantique Key Element Management System, which assures a safe key handling from all QIDiS sites involved. These management systems have also the need for communication with the different nodes, the different sites, and they are utilizing a data communication channel network that is protected with encryption, both for the node-to-node communications, as well as for remote access from outside. And this is done to prevent the solution from being attacked through the control plane level. So it is not a matter, real installations are not a matter only of securing the data plane, the data flow, but also securing the management plane in order to be capable not to be attacked here. All of these now leads us to the key takeaways which I would like to give to you within the next slide. And this is also the last one before we head over to the question and answers. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to emphasize again the 4 major topics that have been addressed in the very beginning. So the irreversible impact of quantum computers on current crypto, which is now widely understood. The growing awareness that sensitive data will not stay safe anymore. And therefore the proactivity that is needed to get a long-term security strategy in place. Consequently, first actions are taken already now to improve mission-critical data integrity. So maximizing security does mean security level and information lifetime is influential on improving the security of data communication solutions. This is what I've shown running you through these stories. And the quantum key distribution combined with DWDM currently offers a maximum of safety already today. And our company, Dacoso, has proven to be experts for all planning, integration, operation, and service duties to provide a managed service solution, also with a BSI certified security center background. So from my side then, thank you joining this journey. Thank you for listening, and let's move towards the Q&A together.
Thank you very much, Thomas. So my name, just to present myself in a very quick manner. So my name is Fabien. I'm working for ID Quantique, looking for the channel partner and the technology partner. So thank you again, Thomas, for the presentation and for the content. It is very interesting to see that the quantum technology is being already adopted and used by customer in your region. That's very interesting to see that already it's happening right now. And that Dacoso is following closely basically on these projects from the phase of proposing, sizing the solution to the deployment of the systems and the survey and the maintenance. So that's a really good to hear that. So we received some questions within the webinar, and as I mentioned by my colleague, basically we will not be able to cover all the questions. I'll read some of them. We will try to follow up on this question with you by email. I believe that we have your contact details, so we'll try to do so. Otherwise, reach to us. You can send us an email at info@idquantique.com if you want us basically to follow up with you on these questions. So the first question that I can read for you is the following. What about the interfacing between the ADVA and the ID Quantique equipment to bring in the key?
Yeah, so the interfacing between the ADVA gear and the ID Quantique is done locally with a local interface that is standardized currently under ETSI. So there are further standardization ongoing in ITUT. Yeah. So we're looking forward that for a wide array of telecommunications solutions, we do have a standardized interface. So in detail, the QIDiS equipment is providing a stack of keys, of secure keys on both ends. And the ADVA DWDM transponders, each of them are requesting every 10 minutes a pair of keys from this stack, and this is imported through the local interface. And after 10 minutes, these keys are dropped and new keys are requested in order to operate. Yeah. So the message here is we do see an ongoing standardization in bodies, and we will see an overall I2T recommendation pretty soon, I guess. And ADVA and EVP Quantique are the companies who are really ahead of implementation, so they're very fast also implementing these solutions.
Good, thank you. Let me read to you the second question. Is there a chance to run a demo session with the lab equipment? And there's another following question in the same area. Can we see the equipment running?
Yeah, that's very easy to answer. As you may understand, within existing customers, there's no chance to see the installation live, but what we've done in Dacoso is that in our lab in Langen, we do have both. We have a full installation of DWDM complemented with QIDiS from EVP Quantique. So we are capable to do online session in these times of Corona. We are also capable to do live demos as pre-sense demos. I think this is maybe a little bit in the future, but we're really open with all the Corona restrictions and keeping rules here to invite customers to join us either online or even in presence in our office in Langen.
Good, thank you. You mentioned that the data need to be protected, but what type of data need to be protected right now by QIDiS?
That's a good question. In terms of data to be protected, it is in particular what I've mentioned in the diagram. So from and I think also Axel mentioned this, from governmental bodies, from intellectual property rights, for example, our customers. We do have even customers out of our roots at Dacoso. Banks and insurances particularly are interested in such solutions. If this answers the question in terms of the data, or was there a different meaning behind which different data flows are need to be protected?
Okay. Let me take the third question. I believe we have time even for more than 3 questions. So here comes the third question. Are today QIDiS distance limitation a handicap to QIDiS commercial deployment?
Yeah, I think the distance is currently what I mentioned, 120 kilometers, and there was even the question for the trusted nodes even before. Yeah, so exceeding a certain distance or a certain attenuation at the QIDiS channel would lead to the need to have quantum repeaters currently in real installation placed into these. These need to be trusted sites, so really safe sites in terms of all the access, as safe as the other points. I think EVP Quantique, and maybe this is a question also partly answered from your side, is developing further in order to increase these distances for single hops. But basically speaking, if you're particularly looking into, for example, also carrier solutions, in these networks, we usually do see distances between 80 kilometers and 120 kilometers. For enterprises with dedicated fiber, this is a little bit different, so trusted nodes would be needed at the moment, yes.
Okay, good. Let's move to another question. So the question is, I'm stating the question, how easy or difficult is to extend an existing QIDiS link to be within a complex topology?
I think
I believe it's from a practical point of view.
It's a practical point of view. I think it was pretty obvious within the slides already that the easiest way is what I've shown as a point-to-point link. But even if, for example, if a customer has already an installation in point-to-point and is adding then a star topology, so adding more sites on a central point, these in one hand, if it's star topology, quantum systems. So, for example, in the central site, you have all the hélices, and at the star sites, you have all the pops. So link per link, you can increase the network. What we've also demonstrated here in these customer cases, that the number of QKD links not necessarily need to grow in the same way as the number of logical data links, as the system is really capable to handle the keys to different endpoints, even if there's not a logical connection, like, for example, in the ring structure. So I think it's pretty easy to follow, in principle, the network topology to increase networks, and on the other hand, then also to see what is the best way in a business case, also in the commercials, to save some of the quantum links, which are not necessarily needed then.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question. Is how your customer use the QKD? How they adopt the QKD? I believe it's around the POC. Let me read it in another way. So yeah, here we go. So how to use the QKD? How, from a customer perspective, you start using the QKD? Are you offering a POC?
Yeah, in terms of going into customers, this is a technology which is pretty new, and I think Axel has shown before the diagram with the arrow in the year 1982. So the common experience in practical with QKD is pretty limited, and this is exactly the reason why we have put equipment in our lab, and why we are able to support customer proof of concepts. Yeah, usually we're doing this customer proof of concept to show all the functionality. So we would like to focus on point-to-point, I think, which is enough for the first step. But yes, we are pretty open to support POCs with QKD equipment. Thank you.
So thank you again, Thomas. We are at the end of the first part of this presentation. We basically will have a break, a 30 minutes break, starting from today, from right now, basically. So we will start at 3:40 p.m. We will have two presentations following that. The first one is around the quantum key distribution in the blockchain. It's a use case of the quantum vault that will be presented by Sébastien Kraft, the lead engineer of Montpellier. At 4:10, we will have another presentation around the data center interconnect that will be presented by my colleague Jean-Sébastien. He's the head of telco market at EVP Quantique.